Hi guys, welcome back to Maladek Reviews. Today's game, Nova Drift, a roguelike space shooter. It's got everything in it that I think I like. It's a really arcade-based game, and I'm not going to lie, we're going to start this review off by telling you I absolutely love it. There's no reason to hide it, but I'm going to tell you why right now. So first off, the gameplay. Nova Drift is quite simple. It's an arcade-style space shooter, which you might think dime a dozen, but let me tell you where this one differs. This game, Nova Drift, adds in roguelike mechanics, which I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Maladek, you love yourself your roguelikes. You're going to be harsh on this one because it's not one that you've played on stream yet. And let me tell you, I'm really tempted to actually do this game as a stream, so if I haven't already, let me know down in the comments if you want me to do that as a stream, so I can show you exactly how great this game is and how frustrating it can be at the same time. It's a really fun experience, and I would love to share that with you. But let me know if that's something in the comments that you guys want to see. Now, the roguelike mechanics are quite an interesting implementation here, because this kind of game, usually you level up mechanics. It's not really a level up you usually get in these games, it's buffs that you tend to find around, so if you guys are familiar with games like Geometry Wars or any of the other space shooter style ones, you tend to find like an upgrade lying around in the world after you kill something, and then you can pick it up, and you have no control over what it is that you've got. But this game, it changes it up a little bit. So in Nova Drift, instead of picking up random upgrades, which you still can do, there are some upgrades that sort of lie scattered around the world, but I think you have to level up a little bit before they start appearing. I could be wrong, but I think it comes from the train upgrade, which sounds like a strange sentence. Honestly, it will make sense to you, I swear. I swear it makes sense. But with Nova Drift, you'll find that there's more of a stylistic change, but it's definitely a playstyle implementation where you kind of feel a little bit more connected to your rocket ship sort of polygon thing, because you get to pick an upgrade whenever you want. I say whenever you want. Once you've got enough XP to level up, it doesn't just take you out of the game and stick you into a level up screen. Nova Drift actually handles this really well. So what Nova Drift does is it'll give you a nice little fancy thing at the bottom that will say, for me it says press Y to level up, because I use controller. I'm not going to lie, although I'm a PCMR guy, this game is definitely superior on a controller for me. It's an arcade game, it's meant to have joysticks, it has joysticks, I love it. I love it. I have played it a little bit on mouse and keyboard, and it's a perfectly fine experience. You're not going to run into too many issues with mouse and keyboard, but, you know, it's a game that's designed for a joystick, if we're honest. So I grab my trusty controller out whenever I can and get that one going down. Every time you play the game, you're pretty much guaranteed to end up with a different build. Like, the upgrades, you don't get to select from a list of 300 upgrades. You get a nice little, sort of, I think it's a hexagon, of upgrades that are in a sort of little cone thing, and you can pick one of those upgrades that you want to add to your ship this time. If you've got rerolls, you can pick them up in the world as like a consumable buff. Then you can do that. But what this means is that you get to know, they're in little trees, so the trees tend to have, I think it's 4 or 5. I'll get Catch to put that underneath me, however many it is. In a tree, and once you've got one, you can get the upgrades for that, and there are some that are unique to different playstyles, and some that you needed to get extra text, so you basically end up with a really specialized ship by the end of the game, even if you don't win. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm playing Endless Mode, because as far as I know, the Campaign Mode, which is meant to be coming out in around about December of 2019, that's this year for me, but it's not there yet, so I'm playing Endless Mode, so I don't think there is a generic win, and I've seen from the Discord there are people doing a lot better than I am, but I digress. You're going to end up with a different ship every time, so personally I quite like to run there's a short-range engineer-style ship, where I have just a butt-ton of drones that do all my work for me, because then I don't really have to do anything, I've just got to fly towards the enemy, and they'll gun them down, and I take less damage. But you can also run more stealth-oriented builds, so there's the railgun, which is actually another build I quite like, the railgun stealth build, where you just hide and wait, and when you see someone coming, pew, snipe them, and see if because the railgun goes through people, you can get sort of 4, 5, 6 enemies taken out in one go, and it's a marvelous mechanic in a game, I'm not going to lie. I cannot oversell how well the gameplay of this game just makes it, it's a really fun experience. And I think I can speak for most of my team who've had a chance to play this game, some of which has been through Steam Library Share. I should have actually said at the beginning, I got this game for free through a site called Keymailer, so, you know, take whatever I'm saying with a pinch of salt if you want to. I personally like to think I'm not swayed by that, but you never know. I really enjoyed this game, my editor really enjoyed this game, and I'm sure that you'll enjoy this game too. So graphics. Graphics are an interesting thing in this game, because usually these arcade-style games tend to be fairly low-resolution affairs, but Nova Drift isn't. Nova Drift has managed to actually get a really beautiful art style. It's got vibrant colours. It feels like an arcade game, but the resolution, it's beautiful. The actual gameplay, it looks gorgeous. And all of the things kind of... Your choices actually make difference to the graphical style of the game. So if you pick stuff like the Halo shield, which will make more sense if you've played it, your ship and all of your like weapon attacks turn red rather than the usual white, and if you get buffs, your ship and stuff turns multicolored. There's a lot of graphical implementation in this game that just makes everything really easy on the eyes. You can clearly see where your ship is. That's not something I've ever had an issue with. I've had an issue going around when my drones are, my little ships that I have that do my work for me when I'm playing my engineer build, but I think that's probably more me forgetting where things are, if I'm honest. So don't, let's not blame them for that. There's not really much they can do there. I'm just, you know, I can't keep track of two things at once. But my ship, I always know where it is. It's a really great implementation of that. So music is probably one of the areas, and so music and sound effects we'll go with. One of the areas that I think Nova Drift can sometimes... It's probably one of the weaker areas of Nova Drift, but that's not to say it's bad. I want to make that clear. It's not a deal-breaking situation here. The music itself, absolutely fine. So for a roguelike, I quite like when the music's quite understated. It's you know, it's there, but it's not in your face, because I think the music in roguelites don't necessarily add a lot to the core experience. So having it there is nice. If there's no music at all, I'm not a big fan. I've not yet found a game that doesn't have any music in it that I'm a fan of, but that's, you know, probably, it could just be that because I'm a musician, I like to have music and stuff in my games. But Nova Drift does find a nice balance. It's quite quiet, it's background music. It's nice to listen to, don't get me wrong, but it's one of those ones where you could leave the music on and still play your own music over the top, and it's not going to get really clashy. Whereas, you know, if it was in the arcade, where I think the game's taken a lot of its inspiration from arcade mechanics. If it was in the arcade, you'd expect to have a much louder, punchier noise because, you know, arcade games always, you know, bright flashing lights, you know, sound and all that kind of stuff. Whereas on a PC, you just don't need that. And I think Nova Drift has done a really good job of making sure that that doesn't happen. The area in which they fall down on the sound, I think, is the gunplay. The gunplay sound effects, I should say. Because although it's not bad, the guns are quite quiet, there's not a lot of audio feedback when you've hit something or when you're shooting. I just feel like it could do with like a little bit of variation for all of the different things you're using. I don't mind the actual volume so much, I just think the volume of when you've shot should be a little bit louder, because when you're playing it, it's really quiet to actually hear anything about. I wasn't even sure there was sound when you shot when I first played the game. With the basic guns. Some of the guns do improve on that. I think the tendril weapon, from memory, is quite a good one for that one. It's quite loud and it's really punchy when you hit, but it's a mixed bag across the board. Some of them are run really well, some of them are not so much. It is in early access. I need to stress that. I can't stress that enough. It's in early access, so it could be that these assets are going to get better on release. I believe release is scheduled for December 2019 or January 2020. It's between that area, and they have been updating the game quite regularly, so I can't really fault them on that one if there are some elements that just aren't quite up to it for me. It's not a big deal. It's really not, because as I say, it is an arcade game, so when the sounds aren't quite perfect, you can probably forgive it, because you are having fun. The core game loop is fun. I've lost a lot of time to this game, not realizing how much time I've spent, but I digress. The gameplay is absolutely phenomenal. There's no story. Now, usually this would be where I'd go, how can they not have a story in a game like this? You know, this game I don't feel needs it particularly, because unlike some of the other roguelikes I've done, where it's been like, actually, this feels like there's, you know, I feel like I need to know what's going on here, because it's gone for the more arcade sort of style, I think they've gotten away with it. Because you're just a big sort of polygon spaceship thing shooting things, and shooting other polygons. That's it. There are boss fights, the bosses don't say anything. There's the, you know, the only reason that's a boss fight is because you've got, you know, a bigger health bar and it takes a lot of weapons to kill it. So I don't actually think that this is one of those games that's let down by its lack of story. I think it's fun, the loop is great. You know, although it's not got it in there, and I like to bring up story as well as a lot of the other elements, because I think it's important to give a well-rounded view of the game. If you're looking for your next story-based narrative, this one's probably not for you. If you're looking for the kind of game you can stick on your laptop, mine's behind me, behind those pillows, but if you want to look for a game to stick on your laptop, this is it. You can play it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. Catch was telling me, my editor was telling me how he thought he'd only done a couple of hours, and he looked at the time, he'd been playing it for just over 3.5 hours. So you can get easily, and I mean it is really easy to get lost in this one, because it's so addictive. You play it once, you're like, oh, well, I can do better that time. I only plan on playing it once to check a couple of things for this review earlier. I played it more than once in general, but earlier I was playing it and I was like, and I just ended up like 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds later, I'm like, yeah, I only meant to do this once, and I was going to write in that thing I was just checking for the review, and then, nope, I'm still on it. And that is, for me, that's how I know a game is worth playing. If I can forget how long I've been playing it for and still be enjoying it, and look at the time and go, it's been an hour and a half, it's been, and not care. The game's been fun, it's been worth it. I don't leave this game, even when I lose a fight, I don't leave the game feeling, I'm not sitting there like, yeah, okay, well that went wrong. Because, this mechanic didn't work, or, I leave, whenever I play this game, whenever I play Nova Drift, I feel like it's fair, I feel like it's done me proud. I think that's probably the biggest endorsement I can give to you. Even when you lose the game, even when you're hitting your high score, it's got the arcade high score mechanic thing at the end, and you can type in your initials and whatnot. I tend to skip that because I'm lazy, but, if you are, especially if you're sharing with family, you could get quite into this one, because it only takes, 5-10 minutes, unless you're playing a super long run, in which case I guess you could go on for hours, but I can't foresee myself doing it. I'm not a professional. There are some people in the Discord who have just got sort of, like, millions and millions of points. That's not me. But, if you're in a family unit, and you want a game to play where you can just prove that you're the omega, the alpha gamer, if you will, this one's for you. It's absolutely amazing. Performance-wise, I've not had any issues. It runs flawlessly. There's no point at which the game stops. And I think that's important for a game like this as well, unless you tell it to. If you want to level up, then it stops so you can level up, obviously. But there's no kind of, it's not as defined as some of the other games in the genre, where when you finish a wave, everything stops, you get time to recover, you get time to level up, then a wave starts. It's constant. I don't even know what wave I'm on half the time, because the way it does say the wave at the bottom at the start of the wave, but you won't notice it. You are in too deep. And it's not a bad thing. You are in too deep for good reasons. It's a great game. It manages to keep you hooked. I cannot oversell how great the experience of this game is. I really can't. So now we come to the final part of our review, the price. Now, I think it's important to consider the price when you're reviewing a product, because the expectations one has on a game that's £5 versus one that's £60 is going to be very, very different. Now, this game, Nova Drift, sits at around the £11 mark, which I think is actually really fair. I wouldn't want to pay much more. I think I could probably go up to the £15 mark. Anything less is always going to be better, because I like to save my money, but I think the £11 mark is fair. The game's feels finished. There are a few features, obviously, that aren't in there, but for the £11 mark, the game feels pretty finished. You've not got big performance drops and lag and all that kind of stuff. I just don't think I've really seen a game with this level of polish, still in early access, charging so little, if I'm honest. So I was really happy, and it's not been left. As I've said previously, the game devs are still updating it. There's a roadmap that they actually are sticking to, which is, again, even in AAA games, you don't see them stick to the roadmap they give. So you can kind of see when content's on the horizon. There are some things on the menu screen that are grayed out because they're coming soon, but it's, I believe the devs when they tell me that it's coming soon, which is always good. And from being in the Discord, the community seems pretty positive about the fact they are actually doing their work. So I'm going to say it's a fair price. £11, I think it's £11.39 or so. It's a weird one, but it's around the £11, £11.50 mark. It's an absolutely reasonable price. I don't even think you need to wait for this one to go on sale, if I'm honest. Like, if it happens to be on sale, then, I'm not going to say pay full price for it, but if it's not, I wouldn't. You're not missing out too much, because the game's really good anyway. You're not going to feel cheated, like some games where you pay and you're like, yeah, that wasn't worth it. This is not one of them. This is a game that charges a reasonable price for a great product, and you are getting a great deal if you go for this one. And I suppose that's going to give away pretty much what my final score is going to be. And my final score is an 8 out of 10. It could go up once the campaign mode's in there. I just think, for the style of game it is, it's really well polished. And I think some of the marks are being lost just for the audio and the sound effects for the guns and stuff like that. It's very small, minor details that could really bring it up and just make it really up there with the 10s. But, as an ever pessimist, I'm probably not going to give people, a game a 10, because I don't think there's such a thing as the perfect game. So this is a very high mark for me, because I'm quite a picky gamer. I'm very willing to give games a very low score if I don't like them. Getting an 8 out of me means that I really like this game, and I think you will too. As ever, guys, thank you for watching today's video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Dropping that notification bell if you don't mind. You get notified whenever I'm dropping out a new video or doing a premiere. I like to do premieres on the channel, so you may end up getting notifications of a video that's going live in an hour. If you are, you can watch that live with me and chat with me while that's going on. It's a really fun mechanic. I think it's a really nice thing that YouTube have implemented. But I digress. If you do intend to get an overdrift, let me know down below. I want to know if you want this game, because I really enjoyed it, and I hope I've I hope that's really come across in the review. If you want to check me out a little bit more personally, you can come watch me on twitch.tv/MaladekTheWizard. The links will obviously be down below. You can also join my Discord community, also linked down below. Twitter, @wizard_Maladek. Again, it's going to be linked down below, and any of the other socials I'm forgetting will be. But first, and most importantly, a special shout out to my friend, Catch Me Chirping, on Twitter. He's the guy that edited this video and made it look as sexy as I'm sure it does. Go and check him out. He'll even be dropping the behind-the-scenes stuff. There were a lot of bloopers from this one. This was one that's shot by me, and like no one else was here, so there were a lot of mistakes, which he's gonna love because they'll be the first time he's seen them as well, so maybe he'll find them even funnier. He'll probably make a meme out of them. Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is, if you want a little bit more Wizard and a little bit more comedy at the same time, Catch Me Chirping on Twitter. His link will be down in that description as well as the link to this game on Steam. I hope you've all had a wonderful time. Thank you very much.